Okay, so grab your wallet for a second, take a look at your driver's license, or think about your birth certificate. See that name on there? That's you, right? I mean, these documents are pretty much the foundation of who we are officially. It's how the state knows we exist.
But here's a wild thought. What if that name, the one that's usually written in all capital letters, what if that isn't actually the living, breathing you? I know it sounds kind of out there, but the source material we're digging into today kicks off with this exact, pretty provocative idea. And this quote right here, it cuts right to the chase. The sources we looked at argue that getting your head around this one single distinction, that the name isn't you, is the most critical step you can take to completely redefine your entire relationship with the government. So this is where it gets really mind-bending. The core idea here is that when a certificate of live birth is made, it's not actually documenting the arrival of a human being. Nope. Instead, they call it, and this is a direct quote, the expulsion of a product. And that product, they say, is your legal name. It's an entity that they believe is completely and totally separate from you. All right, so how does this even work, right? Well, this whole concept is often called the Strawman theory. It basically says there's this fundamental split, a duality, between you, the actual flesh and blood person, and the legal entity that the state created that just happens to share your name.
Now, to kind of get where they're coming from, you have to understand this term legal person. In the eyes of the law, this can mean a human for sure, but it can also mean a corporation or a trust. It's basically any entity that the law recognizes as having its own rights and responsibilities. And this is where the sources draw a huge, bright line in the sand. On one side, you've got the living person. They say this person has, and this is their term, a divine right, and can't actually be legally identified. Then on the other side, you have the legal entity. This is the thing described as a product, designed to operate in the world of commerce, and it's identified by a social security number. And this quote, man, it just paints the perfect picture, doesn't it? The legal entity, the straw man, is seen as a puppet. It's the thing that's out there operating in the world of commerce. But the living person? That's you. You're the one pulling the strings. The main takeaway here is you control the puppet, but you are not the puppet. Okay, so that's the theory. But how do you, actually do this? How do you officially separate yourself from this so-called puppet? Well, according to the source material, this isn't just some abstract idea. There's a practical action you can take. They use a very specific government process, filing an assumed name certificate, as the tool to make it all official. So one of the guides we looked at has this 19-step process, but honestly, it all boils down to these three main things. You go to a Secretary of State website. The example they use is Minnesota's. You create an account, and then you file the name from your birth certificate as a brand new business. And they're very specific about the format: surname, comma, given name. So what's the price tag for this, profound act of legal separation? $65. Yeah, according to the guide, it's just $65. That breaks down to a $50 filing fee, plus another $15 for an official certificate of existence and registration for your new business entity. And here you can see the actual fee schedule from that source document. The point they're making is that this isn't some back alley secret handshake stuff. Proponents of this idea are using official, real-world state government forms and paying the standard business fees just like anyone else would. All right, so you've filed the form, you've paid the fee, but why? Why go through all this trouble? Well, that's where we get into the real philosophy behind the whole process. And let's be super clear here, we're not talking about starting an actual business, right? This isn't for a new coffee shop or a consulting gig. According to the source, the one and only reason to get this document is to create an official government-stamped record that proves that legal name is not you. So you see the shift? It's all about changing your relationship to that name. The act of filing this form supposedly transforms you. You're no longer being the legal name. You become the name holder, the person in control of it. It's kind of like being the trustee who manages the assets of a trust. Okay, this leads us to the million-dollar question, right? What's the payoff? What do people who do this actually claim happens next? What are the real-world consequences supposed to be after you've successfully filed this piece of paper? And the results they claim, wow, they are absolutely massive.
Proponents argue that this one simple registration gives them the power to completely change how they interact with the state and its agents. We're talking about claims that it allows them to challenge the jurisdiction of police during a traffic stop court proceedings in their tracks, and even operate completely outside the tax system. To really bring this home, one source tells this story. Picture this. A woman, she's just filed all her paperwork, and boom, she gets pulled over by the cops. The police officer walks up to her window and asks for the usual stuff. License, registration, and proof of insurance. But check out her response. It just completely flips the script on the whole interaction. She asks him, "Oh, you mean you need my business card?" You see what she's doing? She's treating her driver's license not as her personal ID, but as the contact info for the legal entity, the business, that the officer is trying to deal with. And the way the story ends, well, it's a huge win for her, at least according to the source. After she presents all of her business registration paperwork, the officer apparently gets flustered, backs down, hands her documents back, and just leaves without writing a ticket. And it's not just about traffic stops. They make these really similar claims when it comes to taxes. The argument goes something like this. By registering their name as a sole proprietorship, any money they earn is technically business revenue, not personal income. And since a sole proprietorship is just a pass-through entity, which means the money just passes through the business to the owner, they claim there's no personal income for the government to actually tax. Okay, let's zoom out for a second here. When you put the theory, the process, and these wild claimed results all together, what is really going on here? When you boil it all down, what we're looking at is this idea of using the state's own systems kind of against itself. It's a bureaucratic judo move. It's using official forms, paying official fees, all in an attempt to fundamentally redefine your legal identity and your entire relationship with the government. And that really leaves us with one last big question to chew on. Whatever you think about the legal interpretations here, what does it really mean when a boring, old business filing form is held up by some people not as just paperwork, but as a profound key to unlocking personal liberty?